Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astroneer with your friend Kuros Paladin. Thank you for joining me. So, in my last episode, I had gone through getting the home base, set up with its train station. And then I said I'll show off connecting the home base to the transportation ticket center, and then cut to like 2.5 hours later, and I realized I just had done it and forgot to record. So, but I am going to show how meticulous I do get, because I do want to extend off in the opposite direction. I want to extend a little bit from home base. But you can see I did excuse me. I did connect, unlike the real world where you have all these really wonderful tools to survey and figure out exactly where you're going. Here I ended up with these two rail posts really close together, and you can see there's a little bit of an elevation change there, but nothing terrible. So for the most part, I got them pretty close. I wasn't as close to the hillside as I thought I would be, but oh well. The road is going to kind of go right through here. You can see I had an aborted attempt here where I was going, and then realized, wait, I've got to be closer to the hill. So I tore up and moved over to the right of the view at this point. So the TTC is now connected via rail to the global power and oxygen network. Back here, I put in a junction for future expansion, just in case I want to be able to head out. And the reason that it goes that direction is I didn't think about it. When I put this down, it was pointing pretty much right at this pillar. And again, as I've been saying, I want to respect the terrain. You can't replace these. So I wanted to leave this here if possible. So I had to go around it, and then I had to make a decision. Do I curve to the left? Do I curve to the right? Ultimately, I chose left because I didn't want to go toward the base. And I felt it just seemed more natural if it came in from this way as opposed to, making a curve and coming back and going around the base. I don't know how else to describe it, but as opposed to coming from this direction. So eventually that will probably go somewhere. I just wanted to get it in place so that I didn't have to do this all over again. I'm not going to cover this yet because I do want to put my signaling in. And when I do the signaling, I tend to go underneath the rail. I run the harpoons on the bottom of the rail so that they're not visible. Although if I'm covering this all up, it doesn't matter anyhow. But that's what I intend to do. So I wanted to show the amount of detail I get into as I put one of these rail posts down. So I'm going to put one rail post here, and then another junction, and then another rail post. So probably to about here, maybe it'll extend to. And the reason I want a rail post between the junctions is rail posts are how I do the logic for my signaling system. So it's important that there be a rail post because you can't hook up any type of, there's no trigger pins on a junction. There are, what do they call these, reaction or whatever they call these slots. But there's no way to see, react to a car or a train passing through that junction. That would be a nice feature to have. Maybe we'll get it. Who knows? But still, rails are really, I love the way rails work in Astroneer. It'd be nice if cosmetically we could get one that wasn't quite a 90-degree turn out. One that kind of was more like an actual Y and did a general or a gradual. But anyhow. Also, you can see I did some landscaping. So I put down the trees and the little fin wheels on each end here, just for to give some sort of so that it doesn't just look like it's an open parking lot, right? It is not realistic. You would not have trees between rails in a rail yard, but I'm not trying to be that realistic. So, concept is all I'm really after. So, what I need are rail posts, rail junction, alignment mod. Um, so, what I do have right now is I have alignment mod and rail post. I need the if I go back over here, I tend to put all of my terrain stuff on a rover. So here it is. Um, so I want the junction, which I don't have any of. Haha, okay. So I'm going to need a junction. All right, that is 2 aluminum. Do I have aluminum? Ironic. I have more iron and titanium, and I have no aluminum. It's just funny, I think, because normally. Oh wait, here we go. Okay, I do have aluminum, so I need 2 aluminum. So there we go. 2 aluminum will get me a junction bundle. There we go. All right. And then if I have time, once I'm done, I'm also going to head back to Calidor or Glazio because I forgot I left the Rails missions incomplete. That I still need to leave, drop off some copper at one of the 2 logistics depots. It doesn't matter if it's Calidor or Glazio, but I just need to get that so that way I can get the reward. So, all right. So, what I'm going to do, because this one will eventually be at grade, this next rail post, and the junction beyond it are going to be at grade. I'm going to do the very long process of extending this grade all the way out. So it takes a while because baby steps going forward. Got to make certain I'm here. So the idea here is I am... Oh, you know what? I am not. That was a huge mistake. Let's start that over again and actually have the alignment mod on the terrain tool here. So we get back over here. Be very careful not to pick that up. There we go. If I pick this up, I'm going to be... I might almost rage quit. All right, there we go. Yeah, you can see I was already off a little bit, so I'm always off, aren't I? All right, so keep going. I am going to take just a little bit lower because I feel like it still goes uphill slightly as I do this. So, and then the distance between the rail post and the junction will be the maximum amount. Am I doing the right line? I need to go a little bit to the left here. There we go. It will be the maximum distance. So I'm just building the trench for the time being. I need to go a little bit further, I'm pretty certain. So I feel like I may have messed up. All right. This might be the right distance. Now I got to get out of this trench. Oh. There we go. All right. And then when the rail post is in this auxiliary slot, you can use it as an auxiliary slot. So all I have to do, since it's in the right one, is hit V as in Victor, and boom, it will drop a rail post. All right, so let's get this as straight as I can. So this is where the meticulous part comes in, and I spend a lot of time. And there is over on, I don't know, some website that has a bunch of mods for games. There is a mod that will do these, make certain these are parallel, as it were. But I installed it, and then I felt like, no, I don't like this idea. I don't like how, all the disclaimers about mods and everything. So then I just uninstalled it. Plus, it did seem to break the game, in meaning it felt like I was getting strange behavior out of things that I wasn't having before. So, all right, let's just put it down and see how this looks. And I feel like it is ever so slightly going to the left. So this is how picky I get with these. So, but now I feel like it's going ever so slightly to the right. So there we go. I think this might be good. That is better. That is better. All right. And we're not talking 300 mile an hour, or I should say 300 kilometer an hour. Although I think they do have surface trains in Japan at 300 miles an hour. But we're not talking that fast, so it's okay if there's a slight curve. So there we go. That's how long I spend, doing just one freaking rail post. So that's why it takes me hours to do these. So now I'm going to put a junction down. And I need to get out of here so I can turn that off. And then I'm going to build a trench so that I can use the alignment mod properly. There we go. All right. Now let's re-enable it. Come back. And then very slowly, very carefully. So the reason that I do it in baby steps is if I were to just continue going, it will rise. It'll go up in elevation ever so slightly just because of the curvature of the planet. Because the alignment mod does not follow the curvature. It is just for this particular triangle. Like if I were to go right here, I can even show you. If I were to go right here, for that particular triangle at that elevation, give me a flat surface perpendicular to the force of gravity. And bam, that's what it does. And if I were to keep extending that without stopping, it would be no different than just extending the same triangle over and over, and you end up with that bowl effect. So, and that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. I want to follow the curvature of the planet. So, and there will be slight elevation change. There just will be. All right. Let me get out of here. That's the one thing that I always end up doing, is getting myself into these. I'd love to leave this rock here, but it's almost certainly going to go away because the rail will build its own trench and then deform the terrain around it and then cause it to disappear. So this is where I'm nitpicking over using the Charlie and Victor keys to get it to be as straight as possible. And I feel like there is a kink. And I do this because the camera loves to do wonky stuff when you pick things up. Like, did you notice how the camera even shifted there? Which gets really annoying at times. If there was an option to fix the camera's position, It'd be appreciated. And I just realized I did the wrong thing. Not a huge deal, though. I wanted... Oh, come on. There we go. I wanted a junction here. So let's put the junctions. That's a rail post. No. Rail post. There we go. All right. And then for the junction, I also want to set it where it's straight through. And it is going to head... I don't want to go into the hills. So this one will also go off to the right side of our field of view on the screen. So screen left, as it were. Viewer right. In theater, it's stage left or house right. Same thing. All right, so that looks fairly... Oh, now my little guy's trapped. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. So you can even see there that within that distance of the rail post and that junction, how there is the ever so slight curvature of the planet. The planets in Astroneer seem like they're extremely large, but they're not that large, really. Which is good. Like Aluez, or however you say it, if you've played the Glitchwalker content, that is a freaking huge planet for this simulation. And it's actually, I love Aluez. It's just grinding through that content. And I actually tried to start a save on Aluez, so you don't I don't think you have to do all the content. I can't remember because it was over a year ago. But the grinding of the missions is what I don't like about the Glitchwalker content. Plus, there's like, it's this villain. What's her name? I already forgot her name. Blitz. And, you know, when characters talk to you present tense through text, it's just... it almost like it's comical. I don't know. I understand that's the only way the devs could do it. But at least have Blitz show up a little bit more often. As opposed to just like at the very end. And the ending cutscene is so anticlimactic. Although Frank is a really cool character, so... anyhow, enough about Glitchwalkers. We're playing vanilla Astroneer. Okay. That looks good. That looks good. All right. So, I am not going to cover this because eventually I am going to have signaling through here. So there will be a signal here, and then there will be a signal at the other end between this junction, at this rail post, between these two junctions. Now the last thing is I want to get the rail post that leads off of that junction. And before I do that, I can actually return to my supply here, the junctions, because I don't need that anymore. Well, I don't need it right now. So, and I want this to be at grade as well, because I'm going to have a road through here somewhere. And there's just, I don't want to deal with, you can clip in this game through the rail with a vehicle, but visually, I don't want that. I don't want to try to make this go up and over the road, because the road is going to be right here. That would be a ridiculous elevation change. That grade would be just way too steep. So it's going to be at grade, and then that way it just looks nicer. You know, I want things to look nice. So this is why my games take, you know, as long as they do. But I did promise I'm going to show you how I actually go through all of this and the effort I put into it. So, because it's just what I enjoy. One of the things I enjoy about this game. um, is the creativity that you do have. Could there be more? Yes, there could be more. But I am happy with what we have. Um, you know, Astroneer has given us so many years of free content, and then they gave us Glitchwalkers, which was paid content, and it was okay. And then they gave us uh, Megatech, which is just proof that the A team moved on to Starseeker and the B team worked on Megatech because of just all the bugs, the concepts of the structures, um, the unnecessarily large recipe requirements, um, and total lack of any quality control before the thing went out. Um, they may have said, "Oh, we're not going to beta this with the player base because we want it to be a surprise." Well, I don't know if that was a good idea because I'll be honest, my biggest beef with Megatech was the intermodal platform. And they have made a lot of fixes and corrections in the game Megatech, but they still haven't fixed the intermodal. And really, the intermodal is, I think, what everybody was looking forward to in the game. And then they still haven't fixed it. But how the game went to release with the intermodal broken as it was still boggles me. I think they were under pressure to just release. We have to have a Black Friday release because it released, actually, I think it was the week before Thanksgiving, which here in the US is Black Friday. Huge retail day for everything. And I think they were under pressure to just release. Didn't matter if it was ready or not, they were going to release. Ready or not, here I come. And it was not ready. It just wasn't. And it frustrates me that I have 3 intermodals in my other save, my big save, and I still can't use them. And in those, it has been 5 months now. In those 5 months, 2 of the intermodals aren't even needed anymore, which means the one on Silva, where everything was going, is also not needed. Because in those 5 months, I've already collected the resources I needed from those planets, and then some. So, yeah, I understand Starseeker is a big thing. I was able to beta test with it. A lot of fun. And I understand open beta is coming up soon. It is a lot of fun, but I feel like Astroneer was kicked to the side and the B team was said, okay, you guys work on it. The A team is going to work on Starseeker. And I just feel like I said, I feel like the game, that content was just really conceptually should have been examined. But that is my rant about Megatech. So if I've already ranted, I'm sorry if I'm ranting again. I just am really disappointed with Megatech. So, all right, anyhow. So there we go. I have put down that rail. And you see how I do it, how much time I spend on it. Now this I could cover because this will probably not have a signal on it, although I may have a protection signal here that just says, hey, you're entering a occupied block, because there will be a block between this rail post and somewhere that direction. So signals here with automatic signaling, and then this one would probably be a home signal, where it isn't controlled by the train itself, but it would just be warning the train coming in, hey, there could be something here, call dispatch before you enter that block. So, not that I have to do that in this game, but it is something that I enjoy doing. So, all right. So there we go, folks. I've extended the line, and you know what? Here, I'll even show the how I get to um, covering. So I might need some soil. So put this down over here. So okay, got 2 full canisters. Take that. We're gonna put the alignment mod. Whoops, and then. If I do it the right way, I don't have to worry about painting it. It will just be that brown color, the soil I add. So I should have enough soil to do this. So generally I start by just picking a point somewhere in the middle and adding terrain up to the rail. And it's okay if I go above it a little bit, because actually I want to go above it. I got to move away. There we go. Okay. Then I find a point where the soil is right at the rail level and flatten it out, just like that. So boom, now I've got it flattened, and you can see it's pretty much right there even. Then I spread outward from the rail. So I have to get out of this trench, there we go, and then just spread this way. Then I move a little bit and spread out. Spread out. I mean, this is why it takes hours. It is not something that happens really fast. If I did the rail properly, the terrain should, for the most part, remain right with the top of the rail, and you can see it's doing really well. Yeah, there'll be some ever so slight changes. But I'm okay with that. Now this I can somewhat bury, but I'm going to leave some of it open because I am going to be running segments this way. So I want to leave that open. And then here, actually, even though I just covered this all up, I may end up digging it all up again, because if I do have a road, I'm going to put my crossing signals in. And that would all be buried underneath. But for right now, I'm going to bury it. I have no way to build my roads yet because I don't have the paver, I don't have the drill, so I don't have the ability to do that. Okay, occasionally this happens, and if I just go beyond, there we go. And I just keep doing this. So I didn't need anywhere near as much soil as I thought I would. But I'm not covering, that entire station like I did on the other side. And then here, I'm going to just leave the end, because if I do, or when I do, because I do plan to extend this, when I add another rail post, it's going to cut away to right about here. So I just am going to stop there. But at least now I don't have a trench that I have to run across. So, all right, let's take this soil back and set it there. Excellent. So there we go, folks. That was one episode putting down 3 rail posts and a junction. 3 rail posts and a junction walk into a game. So, so I hope that helped explain how I do my rails that are at grade. And then when it comes to the elevated rails, it's just a little bit less intensive. But I am making certain that my curves are ever so, I don't have weird radius curves. I try to make the curves have a focal point, the radius be to make it an arc that is circular, not an arc that is parabolic. How's that? Do my best to make them circular, or arcs that are circular, semicircular. That's the word I was looking for. Versus an parabola, because you can get some really odd looking angles and curves in this game, and that's fine if that's what you're after, and it works well in some situations, but I try to keep them very nice, and then try to keep that elevation consistent. So very little change in the elevation, very little grade change in the grade. Um, and then also, of course, make certain the rail posts are straight, you know, perpendicular to that force of gravity, and that's what the alignment mod is used for. So, each rail post takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to place. And it can add up over time. So, all right, next episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a solid fuel thruster, head over to Glazio or Calidor, one of those two, and drop off the copper that is still needed at one of those logistics depots so I can finish that rail arc there and move on to unlocking the logistics depot here on Silva and unlocking the reward for finishing the Calidor logistics depot. And that reward is really cool. So, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, I will see all of you in the next episode of Astroneer. Take care and bye!